What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. And it is Monday, October 21st here. And, all right, there we go. We've got a lot of stuff to do today. And I'm going to apologize up front. I'm not at my best. We've had a very rough weekend. We had thunderstorms come through that kept us awake. And then last night, gravity attacked my wife twice. And the second time required a call to 911. And just to give you all the heads up, tomorrow I'm having to take her to the doctor for a procedure. And so tomorrow's show will be a best of replay. And just a lot of bad stuff going on here. Of course, not as bad as down in Dallas, man. They got hammered by that tornado. All right. So we got a lot to talk about today here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. And anyway, we already talked about the tornado, 111-mile-per-hour winds, and they're still searching for possible survivors here. In Lebanon, protests have erupted in Hezbollah's heartland of South Lebanon, despite the campaign of intimidation. And apparently a big part of it has to do with what's being called the tax intifada. And the people of Lebanon are saying it's time for this regime to go because they're just taxing everything. They're broke, they're spending the money on what they want to spend it on, and their solution to all of these is always going to be, pardon me, and the solution is always going to be, let's just take more money from the people. Now, there was this article over at activistpost.com that I think really captures something I've been saying for the last week. Civil unrest is erupting all over the world. Lebanon, Peru, Hong Kong, and it could come here to the United States because we've reached our breaking point. And I don't want to see civil unrest, but let's, be honest here. And say that, yeah, we're just being pounded on. Being bled dry for the wars, infrastructure not being taken care of. Okay, now then. For those of you who thought there was going to be some kind of a cessation of hostilities in Syria, wrong again, because Defense Secretary Mark Esper says he is discussing an option that would keep a small residual U.S. military force in southeast Syria to secure the oil fields and continue the fight against ISIS. So already this whole deal has fallen apart. Not at all surprised. I still think that press conference last week with Pompeo and Mike Pence was all about trying to save Trump's image, especially ahead of his Dallas rally here. Anyway, over in Ukraine, an official is claiming that Hunter Biden was only appointed to the board of directors of Burisma Holdings to protect the company at a time it faced foreign scrutiny over its business practices. So Alexander Onyshenko, a former member of the Ukrainian parliament and ally of Burisma's founder, made the admission to Reuters Friday when discussing Hunter Biden's ties to the oil and natural gas company and say he was there to protect the company. That's why he was on the board. That's why he's getting all that money. He didn't really do much of anything else. He was there to run political interference and say, you just leave this company alone. So apparently there was this huge securities fraud, $60 million fraud against the Waukpamni Lake Community Association, which is part of the Oglala Sioux. $60 million fraud, and apparently the participants in that fraud touted their links to politically connected Hunter Biden. Now, as of right now, he is not himself accused of any wrongdoing, but again, he was selling influence. That's his business, selling influence. Now, the Ukrainian government has said it is now ready to cooperate with the FBI on laundering hundreds of millions of IMF aid money and attempts by the DNC to cover it up. So Jack Posobiec posted a series of tweets detailing Representative Adam Schiff's actions this past month after receiving the CIA whistleblower report on President Trump's phone call with the newly elected Ukrainian president. Now, this next story is kind of a little weird here. The military, they love their toys. They're very concerned that both Russia and China are moving ahead certain technologies. So the next big project they're getting ready to do is a cannon, big cannon. This one, be able to fire a projectile over 1,150 miles. In other words, from Nashville to New York City. So maybe they moved it, killing Gerald Bull, just a little too precipitously, because this is the guy who could have done it. Problem, of course, is over that kind of a distance, the projectile will have to be guided. That means building a projectile that can survive that kind of an impulse of being fired. Keep it on track. A lot of people are very worried. For all the money we're spending on the U.S. military, U.S. military power is in a long-term decline. They can spend the money, they can't make the weapons. Gerald R. Ford, Zumwalt, F-35, F-22, and so forth. By the way, underwater scientists in near Midway have located what they think is the wreck of the Japanese carrier Akagi, which is one of the carriers that was lost at the Battle of Midway. So they're sending the robots down to take another look. Right now, starting last week, we've had this Twitter fight going on between Tulsi Gabbard and Hillary Clinton, and it all began with Hillary Clinton accusing Tulsi Gabbard of being a Russian agent. That's Hillary's, if she doesn't like you, if you don't support her, if you don't toe the line, you're a Russian agent, which I guess means everything. So Gabbard is not backing down. And she's out there saying that she stands against everything Hillary represents. She's on the warpath. She's declared war against not just Hillary, but the Democratic National Committee that was supporting her in this smear campaign. Now, the State Department has wrapped up its investigation into the Clinton email scandal, and they found nearly 600 violations. And apparently there was an enemies list that targeted Trump family and journalists. To protect Biden, the Senate can stop the coup, but it is a mess. Nobody's been arrested yet, though. That's the problem. Nobody's been indicted. They're saying, yes, there were 600 criminal violations involved in that private email server. And even James Comey admitted some of these were felony Title 18 violations. Now, for some reason, over the weekend, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who had been out there as one of the most vocal critics of Trump's decision to move U.S. troops out of Syria, said on Sunday he now thinks this could actually succeed. Historic solutions are possible. Oh, good that he's doing that here. Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein is on video talking about Russiagate and saying there's no allegation in this indictment that any American had any knowledge of Russian election influence operations. They couldn't find it. This was definitely a deep state operation here. And the CIA analysts are lawyering up. Brennan and Clapper are caught up in this whole mess. The origin of the Russia probe. So they're lawyering up because they know they're going to be in a courtroom soon. All right. Mark Sanford kicked off his presidential campaign against Donald Trump in Philadelphia. Only one person showed up. So good luck, Mark. And amazingly enough, for a dead guy, Jeff Epstein is still getting a lot of press. Apparently, there are new documents that have surfaced showing that Prince Andrew joined with Jeffrey Epstein in a flat-out orgy involving 9 girls at Epstein's private island. Now, this next one, a little more serious story. Apparently, Antifa puppet masters want to engineer a patriot slaughter of leftists. In other words, liberals are going to be killed, and it's going to be blamed on conservatives to try and spark a violent uprising against conservatives. Let's talk a little bit about the economic news here. Everyone's talking about negative yields of people paying for the privilege of lending money. And William Eigen over at JP Morgan is saying, it's insane. It's not fixed income investing, it's fixed loss investing. And it's a sign of just how desperate they are to try and keep this whole system glued together. Virtually every observer is out there saying, yeah, we're heading into a recession, probably going to be worse than 2008. Beijing is now demanding $2.4 billion in sanctions against the United States over an Obama-era World Trade Organization complaint, which the U.S. was not compliant with. Everybody's sanctioning everybody, everybody's tariffing each other. The whole world feels like it's going wacko here. Apparently over in San Francisco, another Chinese mega construction project has been shut down. And the list of these troubled projects is growing. And it's all a result of China's crackdown in debt and capital flight. Apparently they were a company called Oceanwide, a division of Chinese conglomerate Oceanwide Holdings Company, has stopped construction indefinitely on a 54-story, 605-foot tower across from the Salesforce Tower and across from the infamous Leaning Millennium Tower. All right, we have a caller on the line. Francis in Montreal. Aloha, Francis. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
There's a scandal that's been brewing in France. It's been reported in Le Monde, and now it's Thierry Meyssan at Voltaire Network has written several articles about this, and it's not being reported in the Western English language press at all, from what I could see. Okay. And it involves the biggest cement company in the world, Lafarge Cement. which is actually now is fused with a Swiss Holcim. And when the Syrian war broke out, a lot of companies fled Syria, but Lafarge Cement didn't. In fact, they stayed behind, and when Daesh took over their plants, they gave them active assistance in producing concrete. In fact, they produced 6 million tons of concrete for Daesh. And to put that into a proportion, when the Imperial German Army built the Siegfried Line in Western Europe, they consumed 6 million tons of cement. And effectively what this did was it allowed Daesh to build an impregnable chain of fortresses and tunnels that split Syria in half. And now with this scandal coming out, it involves corrupt French government officials, the CIA, and NATO military intelligence. They were also smuggling, Lafarge was actually making big profits, smuggling in weapons to Daesh too. And there's a punchline to this story. And the punchline is, I'll give you a riddle. What famous American sat on the board of directors of Lafarge Cement International? Yes.
I'm going to take a guess and say Hunter Biden.
That's a good guess, but better than that. Hillary Clinton.
Yes, of course.
So, it's in being investigated, and I think that has a lot to do with the freak out over Hunter Biden. In fact, is because if they start going down that road, and they are, like all these high-end Democrats are sitting on boards of directors, and they're not just collecting money; they're actually involved in doing acts of evil and treason. Because the Patriot Act, you're not allowed to sell stuff to the terrorists, right?
No, you're not.
So, anyway, that's all I had to say. Have a good day, Mike. Thanks for keeping up the good work.
All right, well, thank you very much there, Francis. We're going to let you go. The phone lines are open again here. Okay, so an article that came out of Investment Watch saying that it's not free trade that doomed U.S. manufacturing in the Rust Belt. It was the unions and protectionism. And certainly the unions tended to drive up the costs, making us uncompetitive with other countries. Then they tried to counter that with a protectionist policy, and the other countries didn't like that much either. So have you noticed the more that the government mucks about with the economy, the worse things get? Anyway, JP Morgan is out there saying recession is coming soon, get ready for it. Jamie Dimon, among other top bankers who are sounding the alarm on this. All righty. I think we talked about this on Friday, but I'll mention it anyway. Over in California, Governor Newsom has signed an executive order basically taking voter-approved gasoline tax money that was supposed to go to rebuilding the roads and bridges, and he shifted over to the rail projects. And I'm not sure that he really has that authority. Will of the people and all of that kind of stuff. Uber has laid off hundreds of employees in its third round of cuts this year. And apparently the Census Bureau, ever since the court struck down Trump's request to have a citizenship question on next year's census, the Census Bureau is now asking for driver's license records to get the same information. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back. And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. I'm sending a message to our tech room here. See. Yeah, it's making strange sounds. Oh, I hate modern computers. Anyway. And I don't know why it's making these noises either. Alrighty, over in Great Britain, poor man's Cromwell John Bercow, is blocking Boris Johnson from holding a meaningful vote on his Brexit deal today. Now, Johnson is fighting this desperate battle with the MPs to get legislation through Commons for his do or die Halloween date, which, as you know, is this week. Alrighty. Over in Germany, Merkel has finally admitted that multiculturalism has utterly failed. And, you know, they were out there to promote diversity. They're now saying that it's one of the greatest goofs ever made. So you've got all these people coming on in trying to dismantle our culture, our memories. They didn't want to integrate. That gets us to another story here. This one came out of the American Conservative, and it's talking about this growing trend that we're seeing all across the country to paint out icons of American history, like George Washington. Because supposedly, you know, at some point in their life, they did something that somebody doesn't approve of. So let's forget all about the good stuff that they did. Focus on this one bad thing. Tear down their statues and paint over their mosaics. This one, of course, was coming from that school in California that painted over a mosaic of George Washington. Well, actually, they didn't paint it over. They've covered it over. But at some point, when sanity breaks out in this country, supposedly, they'll be able to uncover it here. But it's basically, they're trying to reportray American history as a saga of nonstop oppression and injustice. And you need to recognize that's what they're doing. It deserves a pushback. Nobody's perfect. Not Thomas Jefferson, not George Washington, not Ben Franklin. They did good things for which they ought to be remembered. We're in California. The CEO of PG&E is now out there saying California can expect blackouts for a decade. Saying, you know, we're working to try and fix the problems that we went through with these last windstorms here, but it's really going to be 10 years before the outages are back under control. 10 years. Talk about third world utilities. So, this country really is in decline. Okay. More is coming on out about Prince Andrew and Jeff Epstein, and I'm sure the Queen has got to be extraordinarily upset about all of this, because if there's one thing that the Queen is really concerned about, of course, it's the public image of the royal family. And Prince Andrew has not exactly acquitted himself in a manner conducive to public support for the royals, which you may or may not know. That's a hot button issue in Great Britain. Why do we need a royal family? We have a parliamentary form of government. Why do we need a king and a queen and all the rest of that? And yes, they own a lot of England. That doesn't necessarily mean we should bow down to them. So Andrew is definitely hurting that issue. Claire, are you okay? It's right here. Alrighty, here you are. Like I said, it's been a rough day, rough night, rough weekend. All right, we were talking last week about Mumia Abu Jamal. Now, if you're not familiar with the name, this is a guy who has spent years in prison for a murder that most people don't think he committed. And he's finally getting a new hearing next year. And I'll tell you why when we come back from these commercials. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we've got a caller on the line, Jim in Illinois. Aloha, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Did you see the videotape of the Kurdish citizens throwing rotten tomatoes, meat, and stones at the American soldiers as they were leaving Syria? And some of the Kurds were saying those soldiers are cowards. They have blood on their hands. And the ironic thing about it, those soldiers are going to Iraq now.
Yeah, they're not coming home.
No. So, again, Trump continues to lie, and people, I don't know why they stick with him, but that video tells the entire story. You know, you're leaving, and people are throwing rotten tomatoes at you.
Yep.
The other thing,
yep.
You were talking about the unstability in the world. I was shocked to hear about the rioting down in Chile over the weekend.
Yes.
Because isn't Chile considered like a middle-class society?
They are, but, even middle class, first of all, you need to remember throughout history, all revolution has emerged from the middle class. That's why so many governments work to get rid of it, like the former Soviet Union. Because, the poor don't have the resources to resist the oligarchs. The middle class do.
Right. Now, what do you think the chances of America having rioting pretty soon?
Unfortunately, I think they're actually pretty good. And I don't want, especially when you've got that story about Antifa is going to, murder some liberals and try and blame conservatives for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think they're going to be like the rioting that we had in America back in the 60s. I think it's going to be worse.
I think you may well be right. I remember the Rodney King riots. I was living in L.A. when that all happened. We weren't there for the South Central riots of the 60s, but we were there for the Rodney King riots. And, yeah, it got pretty ugly and pretty intense.
Right. Well, Michael, that's it. You take care, and good luck with you and Claire getting back on your feet.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot. And it has just taken a lot more time and a lot more work than I expected it was going to. And, I'm still trying to get my office and computer put back together. And I'm probably going to get back to that on Wednesday because, again, tomorrow I have to take Claire to the doctor. All right. So thank you for the phone call, Jim. We're going to let you go. And we're talking about Mumia Abu Jamal. And he's been in prison for a lot of years for a murder most people don't think he committed. He's also a writer. He's written quite a few articles. But he's going to get a new hearing next year. And partly this is based on the fact that everybody knows that Mumia's original trial judge back in 1982 was a stone-cold racist. A current sitting homicide judge on the Common Pleas Court bench has commented that Albert Sabo was the most racist and sexist judge he had ever seen. So there's going to be a lot of new questions being asked at this trial. Did the District Attorney Joe McGill pay off witnesses with favors in cash? Did McGill allow the cabbie with a suspended license to keep driving? Because photos of the crime scene by the Philadelphia Bulletin prove the cab driver's car was literally not at the scene. Did Joe McGill illegally remove black jurors from the jury pool because of their race? Did Joe McGill track and fix the outstanding cases of other key witnesses? Did the DA's office for 37 years withhold and suppress critical information from Mumia's criminal defense team? You're not supposed to do that. There are disclosure rules. Did Judge Albert Sabo state, I'm going to help them fry the N-word in front of Judge Richard Klein and court clerk Terry Mara Carter? did Alfonso Giordano, Philadelphia police commissioner, the highest ranking officer at the scene after Faulkner's murder, falsely state that Mumia confessed while he was beating him in the police van. At the same time, Giordano was under federal scrutiny for running gambling, extortion, and payoffs, and thus was not used as a trial witness. He testified at pretrial hearings, but was not available at trial. He retired the day after Mumia was found guilty with full pay. And soon thereafter, he pled guilty to tax evasion for the bribes taken from illegal gambling in the East Division. 29 officers were convicted in that scandal as well. So, Maureen Faulkner came on and said that what she thinks is going to happen next in Mumia's case. She says there's a good chance they're going to let him go. Mumia's lawyer really thinks they have a chance. And then she went and said, we're in a really hard spot. There's not much we can do. The way it is going, we have to fight to keep Mumia in prison for as long as possible. They don't want to be embarrassed. Same reason that the FBI, with Leonard Peltier. It's a huge embarrassment. They got the wrong guy. They framed an innocent man. All right, we got a caller on the line right now. Todd in Long Beach. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
You can still say aloha. I think it's fine. You still got the spirit of Hawaii in you, and that's the freedom. They still know freedom there, I think. I want to talk to you about a certain place, the bridge between Long Beach and Seal Beach, and
yes.
There's two bridges. Now, when the riots kicked off, believe it or not, certain portions of Long Beach were like cordoned off, and here's how Long Beach and Seal Beach, there was some rioting I heard that was, now here's the individual that told me this, okay? And he got a commission award from the mayor of Seal Beach for his actions.
Mm-hmm.
He went with the sheriffs that did a cordon, like basically blockaded Seal Beach completely off.
Mm-hmm.
And he went in with the sheriffs with his own gun, own rounds, everything. They as a matter of fact, it almost sounded like if you're of an able male, then you're called out. You got to come up and help. And I was like, wow. And so he told me that he got a fast forward in a commission to go to sheriff school. He became a sheriff after this was because of his actions during the riots. And then he is now on the sheriff's, and I think he told me about that like at least, oh God, I'd have to say almost 15, 18 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now I knew he wasn't full of it because another friend of mine who went back in the day when concealed and carry was a big thing in California for self-protection.
Mm-hmm.
He told me the same thing, and that gun shops also, that if you're a friend of the owner, there was one on one street, I'm not going to name where it is, and it was known by local police and sheriffs and people that were concealed and carry or hunters, and people bought used guns through them and all that sort of stuff, and like if a sheriff was retiring, they'd sell him the gun first. And he would sell it for him. And he had a gun shop. And it was a small one here in Long Beach. And then he retired, I think, like 15, 18 years ago. But there was a lot of strange pickup stories like that, like all over the place. Like everybody heard about the Koreans. My God, that was live stuff. Okay?
Yes.
But there was all these other enclaves that were doing all these self-protections. And my gosh, when you were started hitting on some chords here, I think that we're going to go the way of what I just described, that we'll have the enclaves going on, and that local people will develop their own, like, who's my neighbor?
Yes.
I will tell you a special story about that, about who's my neighbor. I was having massive fireworks landing in my backyard. I mean, we're talking stuff from Mexico that had to be at least a half stick. I mean, we all know a quarter stick is an M80, but these were, and I got pissed. I was really angry. I did some actions very bold unto the Spirit of the Lord in me. I really felt God speak to me. How to do it and how I did it it's still, I'm blown away to this day that, and guess what? I haven't heard a firework in 8 months.
Well, obviously,
Hang on. I took action first, and then I went to my neighbors and I said, if you give a damn about your neighborhood, you'll report to the police those who are lighting off the fireworks. I said, I've done all the heavy work. I've already confronted one guy and his entire family right there in his front lawn, and their eyes were bigger than saucers. And I called the police on him. You damn right, I took pictures and everything. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I took pictures and everything. And you have to come to a place that was not violent. It was my phone and me being sick and tired of having fireworks blown up on my property. And, not being able to sleep and feeling, and I was getting very PTSD, by the way. When you hear like a year straight of that crap, I even told the cop, I said, last time I checked, this is not Iraq. This is not Jalisco, Mexico. This is not Afghanistan. This is not Yemen. I said, do you want me to go on with the list, sir? He said, no, I got your point. I said, I hope you do, because if you don't, I'm going to take it higher. And I know where to take it higher, to a Fed level. I can make a report and deal with it. Okay? But the point is that either they're going to be couch sitters, or we're going to say enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's my point. I didn't take a violent action. I said, I've had enough of you and everyone around here that's lighting these things off. Here's what these idiots don't realize about the neighborhood. Well, Long Beach Signal Hill is a gas line to the port. That's how the ships fuel up. Okay, it's not by the fuel that they're pulling off the islands. That's to sell abroad. They're pulling off from the stuff that's refined here inland. And all it takes is one bad vape burn off and these dumb cluckers lighting off a firework, and you can kiss entire neighborhoods goodbye.
Yes.
Okay. See, people don't think. They don't realize their surroundings, what's their business surroundings, what's their, let's call it the environment around them, not just ecologically speaking of trees, plants, and animals. And yes, we need more of all of that. And I'm for more of all of that, and not the overkilling of our deer and all this culling and all this other needless waste. I'm not a PETA guy either, okay? But I do see waste, and I'm sick of the waste. They have a thing in Alaska, just to let you know, a really neat thing, that if they find a freshly killed animal on the side of the road, they have special butcher vans that pick them up, butcher the animal right on site, and they go and they feed it to first the natives of Alaska first.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And I think
they do the same thing in Washington State.
Yes, there are other places that should adopt the same thing and stop the needlessness. But needless to say, I think to confirm many people's things and what they're saying to you is, I kind of confirmed that I would say 2/3 of America is awake, semi-awake, or has a very strong inkling that things are not right. And I do believe that we have massive breeding grounds for trouble on the horizon, one being this Antifa group. More and more I see all across Twitter and the full spectrum, Gab everywhere. Light your Gab up account, Mike. Get it all going. Why not? You know, that people have had it with the black-wearing, mask-wearing Antifa. I've made it a commitment that if I'm ever attacked, or my children, or my wife, I will do what it takes necessarily to break every finger of the person that hit me, abused my family, or anything else like that. It's wrong to put up with that. Nobody should have to put up with that, Mike. And like what Andy Ngo went through, the young Vietnamese gay man, I don't care about whether what he does in the closet. That's none of my damn business. What's my business is his civil rights were violated in front of the police, and every cop that saw that should be fired. I hope the next governor of Oregon has enough balls to fire every damn policeman in Portland. I mean that. Fire them all. They're all dead weight. They're a dead weight. And then on top of firing them, show the collusion and the backdoor deals that they've done to allow Antifa to do this, because there's no other way they can get that money except through George Soros.
Yes.
Both ends of the spectrum. Think about it. They're being played, and those stupid cops don't have any idea that when those dumb Clucker Brown shirters are done with, you know, beating the hell out of everybody around them, they're going to come after anybody that's of law. Didn't they just do that at the DNC office there in Portland, made a threat to the local police?
Yep. They did.
So, and does that not qualify, exacerbate the problem of non-action? And I think that's what Trump is going to do. I really think that there is going to be some serious military action in the United States of America. Not like this predictive BS, like there's 10,000 Marines here and there. Well, quantify that by showing the trains, the vehicles. Okay, I hear the music. Right. Can I stay over?
Yeah, I'm going to hold you over. Stay on the line. We'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. We're still talking with Todd in Long Beach, and I want to back up to this issue about fireworks, because I consider fireworks to just generally be the same class of object as a firearm. In other words, use it safely and responsibly. And but you're right. People seem to think that these things are harmless toys. And perhaps the smaller ones are, the sparklers and so forth. But there was one Independence Day, and the kid who lived next door to us was literally had these M80s, and he was lighting them and throwing them over the fence in all directions, and he actually set our house on fire. So, yeah, a little bit of common sense here, people, or they're going to wind up taking the fireworks away like they did in Hawaii.
And they did in California in many places.
Yes.
You know, California is the dookie hole for taking anything away for anything, basically. Not that, but I wanted to say again, Mike, thank you again for taking my call, because, you know, I have been praying for you and Claire, and I know that moving and the stress of it, like I told you, I moved twice in 8 months. I did 3/4 of it myself. I was so exhausted. And then, you know, it's funny. We took a vacation in Yosemite. We came back, and I felt like I was going to die from the vacation. I was so tired.
Yes.
But I do hope that some things turn around for you, biblically speaking, financially, and that, you know, sometimes, you know, when we're working our own thing out, you know, I know a lot of people hear me, we can do the $5 to $25 a month, people. And I finally came into a place where we got a turnaround in our timing and everything.
Yeah. Every bit helps. Every bit helps.
I will be contributing. I will do it on a monthly. And the thing is that I think that a lot of people are still going out to their goddamn Starbucks and spending that $5 to $50 a month at that rot hole. That the CEO of that company already explained to anybody that believes in Christianity, heterosexuality, and God that he does not want your business. He stated that. Okay?
Yeah.
So,
he's not getting my business, and mostly because it's lousy coffee. It's like they burn the beans. Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's very burnt. It's the worst coffee in the world, and he brags about it. He brags about that too, how bad it is. I mean, he destroyed Seattle's best. That's done. And it's our way to fight back. And I do believe there are Gandhi moments in everyone's life where if they pray unto God and they take action and sit on the ass, it's good for everyone around them. Seriously.
Okay, well, listen, Todd, we're going to have to let you go. This is a station identification, and we'll be back after these few words. Join us on the air, 800-313-9443. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our program, hour number 2. And at least here in Santa Claus, Indiana, the rain has stopped for now. They're saying we'll get a little bit more later tonight, but it was really intense this morning. Of course, they had that tornado down in Dallas. They've got Tropical Storm Nestor in the Gulf area. They had that cyclone bomb in New England. So it's a rough time for the United States of America. And now, seismologists over at Caltech are concerned because they've detected movement in the Ridgecrest earthquake fault. This is the first time it's moved in over 500 years. And they did have a couple of quakes there, 6.4 and 7.1. And so now they're concerned that there may be a big one there. And realizing that trying to analyze earthquake risk without taking into account multifaults was the wrong way to go about it. And I remember when they were discovering what were called the flat faults, the hidden faults, the ones that didn't intersect the surface. And they found out so many of those were actually underneath downtown Los Angeles. And I got to meet Dr. Richter when I was at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and it didn't really make the news, but he kind of moved his family out of California based on his research work. Okay, we talked about this last week, but it's worth mentioning again. Huawei is coming on out with its new smartphones, the Mate 30 and the Mate 30 Pro, and they're being launched without Google products. And the way Huawei did that is they didn't develop their own operating system. They simply used an open source version of Android, and so you can acquire applications, but you have to get them through Huawei's app gallery rather than through Google Play. I think Google made a really, really bad strategic mistake on that one. Okay, tomorrow the House of Representatives is scheduled to vote on what appears to be an unconstitutional copyright bill that carries with it life-altering penalties. What do we mean by that? Okay, the bill would slap a $30,000 fine on internet users who share a copyrighted work they don't own online. Now, supporters of the bill insist there's no problem because $30,000 isn't that much money, which tells you what their perspective is. Apparently, they even laughed about it. They think it's all funny as all get out. I mean, half the country would struggle to deal with an emergency $400 expense. And at some point, somebody is going to have to legally clarify the difference between a copyrighted work and a derivative work, because one of the areas where they want to go with this are people who will take, for example, a photograph and they'll add a caption. Now, is that caption part of the original copywritten work? No, it isn't. It's a derivative work. And we used to have a policy in this country called fair use. Taking that one away here. All right, let's talk about Greta Thunberg. She's still out there wailing and gnashing her teeth and screaming about human-caused global warming, and how she just seemed to come out of nowhere. And the corporate media are certainly treating it like, well, she's just that popular. It is not so, because Greta is supported by this major machine controlled by international actors, backed by a lot of money. This public relations machine has allowed Greta to make the covers of magazines, become the subject of thousands of news articles, while being photographed with world leaders and giving speeches at elite organizations such as the United Nations. And they're out there basically going after the youth market to try and instill fear, panic, and urgency. Don't think about what we're saying makes any sense. Just take our word for it, and you need to do what we tell you to do. Sunlight out there now. Cool. There has been a trend in motion pictures for a while now to try and bring social justice and feminism and transgenderism and all the rest of that stuff to established classic characters. And these films and TV shows have all been disasters. The feminized version of Ghostbusters stands there as a good example of that. But apparently, there's this new TV series, Batwoman. And it's this lady who is openly lesbian. She's a social justice warrior. She's out there in between hitting the bad guys. She's lecturing everybody on how they live their lives. The critics, of course, are saying, oh, this is wonderful. This is amazing. You have to look at it. The viewers, on the other hand, completely unimpressed. 2 episodes are out now, and the audience just isn't paying attention. So I think where Hollywood has gone wrong, and great that they've got the money to waste on this, is they've forgotten that people go to the movies and they watch TV to be entertained and diverted from the troubles of the world, not to be lectured at and indoctrinated. I mean, go back and look at the success of Busby Berkeley during the Depression of the 1930s. I mean, the movie theaters, the movies are pure fluff. And that's all they were supposed to be. And people would watch, and for a little while, they didn't have to think about how terrible conditions were. Plus, the theaters gave away free dishes. They were air-conditioned. And they used to have all of this, it was called carnival glass. And it was a glass that had this multicolor coating around it, and it came as ashtrays and bowls and whatnot, and every time you went to the movies you got another piece of dishware. And my Aunt Mary had some of this. So actress Ruby Rose, who identifies as gender fluid, she's already under attack by angry left-wing critics saying she's not gay enough. Isn't that her choice? Should that not be her choice, how gay she wants to be? Have you noticed how the so-called tolerant left is actually very intolerant? All right, Netflix has announced they're going to start cracking down on users who share logins, and they're not exactly sure how they're going to do it, but they are now monitoring customers who let friends and family in different homes use their passwords. Come on, guys. Fair is fair. Buy your Netflix, you use your password, because if you don't, if you start sharing logins, you destroy their revenue stream, and there won't be any more Netflix. You ever think about it? Same argument we have with the content pirates. If you like an artist's work, pay for it. Because if you don't, the artist will go find something else to do. Like drive trucks. So for those of you who have Netflix who have been engaging in this practice, I am wagging my finger at you. The city of San Francisco is cutting their business ties with nearly half the states in the country because of their restrictive abortion laws. And as I mentioned last week, we've reached a point here where politics seems to be overriding every other consideration. That's like the former Soviet Union. Everything was political. It's a political decision. And we talked about this horrible typhoon they had in Japan that washed something like 2,000 of these bags of radioactive Fukushima waste into this river. It's been confirmed several are now open, so that's heading into the ocean as well. They're never going to be rid of that. They're never, ever, ever going to be rid of that. Over at the Vatican, they're in a cash crisis. Oh, those poor people over there with their little white robes and everything. These sex abuse scandals are driving away donations, not to mention the losses through the lawsuits. And the net loss to the Vatican is 44 million euros in a year. Well, clean up your act. Okay? Just clean up your act. Pardon me. Now, the global warming cultists, if you will, keep insisting that carbon dioxide slows down the rate of heat loss from the surface of the Earth like a blanket. NASA's already kind of dispelled this in one way, and scientists were studying this, saying that a carbon dioxide molecule retains or slows down heat loss at most a negligible 1/10,000th of a second. There's no detectable impact. Global warming people picked carbon dioxide because that could be blamed on you and they could guilt you out of money and obedience. The most powerful greenhouse gas in the atmosphere is water vapor, clouds. They're not going to trick you into paying a cloud tax. They needed something they could blame on human activity, and CO2 was it. Okay, let's see, where are we here? Phone lines, pardon me for the hiccups. Just give me a second. Okay, phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And over in the control room, David is saying, don't give them ideas about taxing clouds that are already taxing rain. Yeah, they are. By the time this mess is over, they're going to be taxing everything. They'll be taxing the air because they're desperate for your money, because they don't know how to make money. All government knows is how to take it away from other people and then spend it. Government has never been a profitable enterprise. They don't need to be. Okay. Ranks of weakest links, lower rated debt issuers with a negative outlook has grown to the largest level since 2009, says S&P ex-Central Bank. They're sleepwalking into another global financial crisis. Everybody is saying pretty much exactly the same thing. Alrighty, now for some reason over at NBC, National Broadcasting Castration. They're really pushing this idea that we all should have microchips in our hand. We all need a microchip. Well, considering how poorly Windows 10 behaves, I don't think so. It's not going to happen. You know where they put chips, right? Livestock. Puppy dogs, the cattle, the horses, the livestock get chipped. Want to be treated like livestock? I don't. So, let's see. Still have fallout from the footage shot in Kentucky of a ammunition and explosive demonstration that was presented as, oh, these are the Turks slaughtering the Kurds after Trump abandoned them. Don't you just hate being lied to so much? I do. I really am. All right, let's take a phone call here. Thomas in Texas, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, hi, Mike. Welcome back to the mainland, bro.
Thank you.
My suggestion is take a little bit of baking soda, put it in a short glass of water, drink it down, and don't burp in the microphone.
Well, I'm trying not to burp into the microphone. I don't know why, since moving to Indiana, I get the hiccups so much, and I used to be able to shut them off, and I can't do that anymore. So, you know, who knows what's going on? I'll talk to my doctor about finding a way to get around this.
Well, a home remedy that always works for me is a little baking soda and a little bit of water. Well, you know, a half a glass of water, put a little baking soda in it, drink it down, and you're going to let out some belch that you'll feel so relieved. I guarantee you.
Well, I'll give it a try. I've had people write in and say, try, you know, a spoonful of sugar, which is one that my mother used to use. But isn't it amazing, with all that science has accomplished, we still don't know what causes hiccups or how to cure them?
It's the diaphragm is not in sync with your breathing.
Okay.
Anyway, just give it a try. You know, do me a favor, and I like your new gig. I like your new gigs there. You're looking good. You're looking healthy. But there's home remedies that will work, and I suggest you try them.
I will give them a try here, and once the office is done and I'm in there, you're going to like it a lot better. And I really thought I could get it done this weekend, but between the storms and Claire's fall down, go boot, just wasn't able to do it. So it's probably going to be Wednesday before I can get back in there.
Well, if you want to go to the doctor, fine. But if you want to try the home remedy, fine too. But I suggest you stay away from the microphone once you do what I suggest, because you're going to let out some big gas. Okay? Keep it on, Mike.
All right, thanks an awful lot. Well, you need to understand, one of the reasons that we did move specifically to here in Indiana is to be close to family, two of whom are medical professionals. So we're getting the attention, you know, we need to have. Now, I'm not a hypochondriac, but one of the reasons we decided to leave Hawaii was when Claire suffered her back fracture 2 years ago, and it was literally 90 days before we get her into Straub to find out just what the heck had happened. And she's still recovering from that. She'll be living with that for the rest of her life. But we have, you know, these family members, and they take care of us. Well, they take care of Claire mostly here. All right, out in California, once again, they're on the edge of financial ruin. They're spending billions of dollars on illegal immigrants. They're spending billions of dollars on pork barrel projects. What's the solution? Well, we just raise taxes on the people. The people are working for like minimum wage here right now. Well, raise the tax rates anyway. That's going to be the attitude from here on out, I can guarantee it. They don't care how poor you are, as long as they get what they want, which is more of your money to spend on their liberal utopia. All right, somebody posted a flashback story reminding us all that the United Nations is saying that 2 of the polio cases in Mozambique were caused by the virus from the vaccine. All right, we're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back. 800-313-9443. Hello, America. Welcome back to our show here. And a lot of people are asking, is Hillary Clinton going to step into the Democratic race for next year or not? I tend to think yes. To me, the signs are obvious. She's out there keeping herself in the public eye. But there's an article over at Government Slaves asking if the Democratic Party is on suicide watch. And they're talking about this issue that erupted last week when Hillary came on out and declared Tulsi Gabbard to be a Russian asset. Of course, that's the same big lie they were pushing with the Mueller report to begin with, which went nowhere. So Tulsi stood up to her, and I love this little quote. Thank you, Hillary Clinton, you, the queen of warmongers, embodiment of corruption, and personification of the rot that has sickened the Democratic Party for so long, have finally come out from behind the curtain. From the day I announced my candidacy, there's been a concerted campaign to destroy my reputation. We wondered who was behind it and why. Now we know it was always you through your proxies. Pretty strong words, which I agree with, by the way. In fact, when I heard Queen of Warmongers, embodiment of corruption, personification of the rot, the first thing that crossed my mind is, don't sugarcoat it like that. Tell us how you really feel. So the article goes on to say, the skirmish does raise the question, is the Democratic Party so sick and rotted that it's seriously considering Hillary Clinton as the 2020 nominee? And the Democrats have been on suicide watch ever since the Mueller report blew up in their face. But yeah, I think they're going to. They don't have anybody else. They really don't. They're not going to let Tulsi get near that nomination because she's anti-war. The military-industrial complex hates her. Just absolutely hates her. I'm sure they've got her face on dartboards in these Pentagon offices. Biden is self-destructing. Warren's not going to get past that Pocahontas scandal. Plus, there's that pregnancy story. So, yeah, I do think, in point of fact, Hillary will be the Democratic nominee next year, probably through a brokered convention. So anyway. Okay. The future of fake news in the digital matrix. This is an article from TruthStream Media. And it raises a very unpleasant possibility. Everybody screams fake media at the corporate media, which is fake. They're screaming it at us at places like whatreallyhappened.com and RBN. Because they don't like having the truth told about them. Problem is the government and the corporate media have got the money and the power. And what are they going to do? Well, it's like that new law that's going to charge you $30,000 for using a copyright picture. They're trying to basically drive us out of business. What they did to Jim Fetzer. And, you know, I'll be honest, Fetzer should have been a little bit more careful with what he was claiming in his book, because he did commit these actionable statements. And that's a red warning for everybody involved in independent media. John Stadmiller, yours truly. We have to be more professional about the news than the news professionals, or we're going to be in big trouble. We're going to get sued out of it because they want us to go away. They want to find a way to make us all go away so they can go back to that happy time of the 1950s and 1960s when you had the government would make a proclamation about the Cold War, the media would repeat it, Americans would believe it. Okay, we got to take a break for commercials. 800-313-9443. We'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And Jane Fonda has been arrested yet again, taking part in some less than cordial public relations, climate change protests. And I can remember Jane when she was just Jane Fonda and she wasn't caught up in all this stuff. But it seems like it's almost become a rite of passage in Hollywood. If you want a career in Hollywood, you know, you're going to toe the liberal political line. You know, otherwise you can go and do crime reenactment shows or something somewhere else here. Alrighty, we talked about the latest outbreak of polio in Syria was caused by the polio vaccine. Isn't that wonderful? There's an article on the front page of whatreallyhappened.com showing the current effectiveness of the flu vaccine, and it's not very good. It averages at 29%, less than 1/3. And for kids, it's 6%. They just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and selling it because it makes money. And as long as it's making money, everything's going to be fine here. Anyway, the Ukrainian who raised money for Adam Schiff's campaign has, as apparently a reward, received rich defense contracts. Money, 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 money. Apparently over at Teen Vogue magazine, they've come up with this idea that we need to think beyond the incorrect idea that periods are just for women and they want tampon machines provided in the men's bathroom. Another great idea that's going to go absolutely nowhere and be a terrible waste of money. We really are going crazy in this country. We really, really are. Apparently, for some reason, there's a soap dish shortage in this country. Kind of weird. So, alrighty, article coming out of, I don't know exactly where it came out of, but it's sounding the usual warnings about theme camp activation and investment watch blog. Mass detention, slave labor, martial law. Can't rule it out. Cannot rule it out. Sort of makes you, whether it's the civic unrest around the globe or just the craziness in this country. What's going on? Is it something in the food? Is it something in the medications? I've never seen it this bad. I've been around for a while. People are wondering if China is going to be able to help drag the global economy out of the coming recession, because they did it back in 2008. All right, let's see. We talked about the blackouts. We talked about Tulsi Gabbard. I'm starting to like Tulsi Gabbard again, if for no other reason than she stood up to Hillary Clinton. And let's be very honest. Hillary Clinton's attack on Tulsi, she's a Russian asset, it's pretty lame, pretty weak. So... apparently over at Louis Vuitton, their artistic director has branded Donald Trump a joke and rejects any association with him after the president visited the designer's brand new factory in Texas. It's a real slap in the face. People are still talking about the fact that Hillary Clinton basically copied Trump's letter to Erdogan and turned it into a satire, because apparently somebody in late night TV had already done that. And so she's been mocked all over social media. Can you not come up with an original idea? So, all righty, we talked about Netflix, we talked about Jeff Epstein and Prince Andrew. And I don't know, maybe, I'm sure there are people who want to live like that. Oodles of money, oodles of girls, the jet set life. And you don't know how fleeting all of that can be. Because I was doing pretty well during my first marriage. Now my ex-wife is doing very well. Very well. All right, we talked about that. Oh, this is a good one. Speaking of the Vatican, apparently they had these pagan Amazonian statues that were used by Pope Francis in this controversial Vatican ceremony. They have now been removed from the church and simply thrown into the Tiber River. Here's another article about Hillary Clinton. This one from Aletho News. It's titled Ms. Pumpkinhead for President, a Nightmare. And it starts out basically saying, I had a nightmare about trying to carve a pumpkin for Halloween, and it kept slithering around. And all of a sudden I realized that it was Hillary, and she was cackling at me. But yeah, Hillary, I am disappointed in Donald Trump. I've made that very, very clear. I'm still glad he won in 2016, because life under Hillary Clinton would have been a lot worse. Be having liberalism shoved up our nose, down our throats, in our ears. Uber has laid off hundreds of employees in its third round of cuts this year. And apparently, David Ripley is over there in San Francisco. There's new details about Planned Parenthood's trafficking. Apparently, Planned Parenthood clinics are selling the scalps, freshly killed babies, for profit, and companies are buying the scalps to test products for treating baldness. How wonderful. Okay, apparently, more bad economic signs. U.S. equity performance may be running out of steam. Zero low interest rates, lackluster organic growth. Terrible. Excuse me a second. So there's another article here where Barbara Streisand is catching some heat over at Western Journal. And she tweeted out this cartoon of Donald Trump impaled to death under Nancy Pelosi's notoriously spiky high heels. And like I said earlier, it's like these people have been changed. Because I got to work with Babs once. She was a sweetheart. You have to look at her now and say, what's gone wrong with you? Talked about the Army's new cannon. Apparently, Schiff has been hit with yet another we've got a caller on the line. Bart in Indiana. Aloha, Bart. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Spoke all over Indiana, and I'd like to ask you, what county are you in right now?
Spencer.
Spencer County?
Yep.
All right. Well, I've got some friends that would, they live about a half an hour from here. But I'll let if I have them Spencer.
Well, after we get settled in, and I got my office up and running, and I get caught up on all the paperwork I've got backlogged, we're going to try and set something up where I can go on out and just actually meet a lot of the show's supporters in person and, hoist a few and have a good time.
That sounds good. And what would we, Jameson, the Irish whiskey, or what's your pleasure?
Well, since I'm the designated driver for the family, it wouldn't be much for me. I do my drinking around the household. So I guess it would be, whatever everybody's pleasure is, and drink responsibly and drive safely.
Well, why not just, get an Uber driver?
Well, if you can find one. Actually, I've already discovered, at least where we live, there's no taxi service.
Oh, yeah. You know a lot about Indianapolis, Indiana?
Haven't been up there yet. I certainly would like to go. I wouldn't mind seeing the Indy 500 live and in person for once in my life. But as you know, we're down in the southwest of the state. All kinds of fascinating geology around here. Caverns and caves and all that kind of stuff. And I gave my stereo microscope away today to this nephew who's just showing this incredible aptitude for science. And I gave him literally a piece of fossil coral I found in the driveway.
Yeah. No, my mind just flashed back to Carlsbad Caves.
Oh, yes. I remember those.
Instead of all these cruises to Alaska or to the Bahamas or, the cruises, we should just take a camping trip to the Carlsbad Caves.
They are magnificent, and unfortunately, I was there just after they tore out the pipe organ that they'd put in there, which, if you really think about it, was probably not the greatest idea because of inducing vibration and weakness in the walls. But there are a lot of caves out there that have pipe organs, and obviously the echo and the reverb is just amazing.
I know it is. It's stalagmite and stalactite. That's almost like centrifugal and centrifugal. That's hard to say.
Well, we look for fossils, we look for geodes, and I've got 3 geodes here. The next time the kids are over, we're going to smash those open and see if there's anything interesting in there.
I know. I'm trying to figure it out because I can't even get a handle on this word node. What is a node?
Well, it depends on the context. I mean, software exists with nodes. So do rocks. In this case, we're talking about a geode. And it's just a rock.
Wait a minute. Well, I missed it. Did you say a geode node? Or did I miss
No,
it?
I said geode.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe they were right. Oh, is it okay with you? May I let you go now?
Yeah.
Let you go now?
We're going to let you go. Thanks an awful lot for the phone call,
we have a
Bart.
disconnect.
Well, what can I say? There's a man who loves his Irish whiskey. All right. So, Steve Bannon is now out there predicting that Trump will be impeached within 6 weeks because Nancy Pelosi is very focused. Bannon is warning that Hillary Clinton and Mike Bloomberg are going to replace the other weak Democratic challengers. And I'm afraid he's correct on that second one, at least. Mitt Romney is already out there saying that if a vote to remove Trump does get to the Senate, that he may vote to remove him. And we are hearing from Fox News that as 20% of the Republicans currently in the Senate might vote to remove. All right. There's this high school girls soccer team, and they're in trouble for unsportsmanlike conduct because they whipped off their jerseys to reveal equal shirts. And they're trying to turn this into an issue. And here's where the problem lies. Okay, the girls' sports don't draw the audience. The men's sports do. The revenue stream just isn't there. And what we have here are a bunch of women who feel they should be given equal pay just because they're women. Now, I'm a great believer in equal pay for equal work, equal pay for equal delivery of whatever it is you're supposed to deliver. But if you're not doing the job, if you're not producing the results, no, you're not entitled to equal pay. Okay. Talked about the 600 violations in the Clinton email scandal, and nobody has been arrested or indicted yet. That's almost a little scary here. Talked about the tornado in Dallas. It hit without any warning. And despite the movie Twister, there really is no way to predict them. I mean, you know the kind of clouds that are going to drop a tornado, but you don't know when it's going to happen. So 111 mile per hour winds. They're still searching for potential survivors. Okay. Apparently, Pelosi and Schiff took a trip over the weekend, first to Jordan, then to Afghanistan. And it looks like they're trying to undermine President Trump with shadow diplomacy, which, by the way, is a violation of the Logan Act. Okay, we should be getting some music. We're going to take a break for commercials. We'll be right back. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And apparently Elizabeth Warren is out there making the statement that cutting aid to Israel is on the table. Now, either she just committed political suicide, or she's already gone around to AIPAC and ADL and say, just ignore what I'm saying. I'm only saying it because this is what the American voters want to hear. You know, we'll keep the money flowing. You know, we'll keep buying the bombs and everything like that. Rush Limbaugh was on the Hannity program warning against the radical left, saying we're at a tipping point. And on this, I agree with him. The radical left, the liberals, are destabilizing our society. So apparently, remember Valerie Plame, former CIA agent, was outed. She's running for Congress in liberal New Mexico district. And even the Washington Post is saying she's already misrepresenting her past. Okay, let's take another phone call from Ralph in Louisville. Aloha, Ralph. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. I've been listening to you for quite a while, and
I'm glad that you made the move successfully to Indiana. I had my daughter, she married a boy in Evansville, so I traveled that route. I passed you on 64 to Evansville quite often. I think about you and your move out of Santa Claus, Indiana. But I've had to look around and kind of explore Indiana myself. And I just wanted to give you a few little places to look at while you're riding around, tooling around on maybe on a weekend or something.
Okay.
Well, there's a place called Vince's, Indiana, and it's got a place called Gasoff at the Amish Village restaurant.
Yes.
It's really good to eat at.
Yeah. I'll admit I cheated. I went on out and I bought a tourist map, and there's this, there's this religious order just over here that brews beer, and there are all these caverns and everything. And there's the original Santa Claus, Indiana, which was bought up and turned into a museum to make way for the newer incarnation. We're going to be visiting that. But Claire and I definitely were looking forward to visiting Amish country.
And then there's a Rich Skilden museum there, and they have a military museum and a monument there of Lewis Clark. Another place you need to go to is called the Log House. It was built in 1825. It's the oldest stagecoach and restaurant in Indiana, and it's just north of Evansville. And you can go, you Claire, and like I say, you sit down and they have just chicken, and they just bring out just bowls of all vegetables and gravy and all the extras. It's just really a nice sit down. And if you and Claire ever go to with Evansville, which is not that far away, there's a place called Cleaver's, and it has just great breakfast. You and Claire could actually get,
Ralph, I need to put you on hold.
Yeah.
Ralph, I got to put you on hold. We've got to take a break for station identification. Don't hang up. I'm going to come right back to you. Aloha, America. Welcome back to our show, hour number 3. We're talking with Ralph in Louisville, and we're talking basically about, getting to know what's around here. Now, obviously, until we get our house squared away, get my office up and running and everything, we don't have a lot of time for exploration, so we haven't really done much, but there's definitely a lot of the caverns I want to check on out. Like I said, one of the best parts about living here is the geology, because there's a lot of it here. Out in Hawaii, there's lava, and then here's some more lava, and here's some more lava, and that can get pretty boring, but I mean, there's all this Devonian glacial till around here. Supposedly, you can actually pan emeralds out of the rivers in southern Indiana, which Claire would like. Let's be honest, Claire would love that.
Mike, the other place I want to tell you about was Cleaver's in it's Chicago style. They have great breakfast. You and Claire could actually get one breakfast and split it. It's just so much food for the money. It's unreal. And then there's I was kind of thinking that maybe you could go to the Tropicana there in Evansville, which is a casino. And maybe that would be a good place to meet a lot of people at one time. And I'll give you a hint. On Mondays, they have senior citizen where they can actually just stay at the hotel. And then on Mondays, you can actually, if you're a senior citizen, you get a free spin at for free money to play with their money on the casino, which is very popular with all the 55 and older people in that area.
To be 55 again, what can I tell you? I'll give you the honest truth. First of all, with regard to the food here is wonderful. I had forgotten how wonderful fresh food tastes living in Hawaii for 20 years, where everything that's on the supermarket shelf has got frequent flyer miles. And so definitely enjoying that part of it. As far as the gambling is concerned, I lost that bug during the years when I worked as an entertainer in Las Vegas, because I saw it wreck so many people. So, no, I'm not a gambler
You're right
anymore.
on that.
Yep.
And Mammoth Cave in Kentucky is a good place to go to if you've never been there.
Oh, I remember. I've never been there, but I remember reading about it when I was a kid.
And then another place that's kind of not talked about, but it's the Falls of the Ohio River on Indiana side. They have an area that you can actually go out with a ranger, and they'll take you out, and they'll actually tell you about of course, everybody's talking about global warming, and they explained all the fossils and how that was back during the time when it was nothing but a tropical paradise. And there's a museum there that would be fun. It is different. I mean, you just they explain it, and the ranger will take you out, and he'll show you the fossil beds, and you can walk right out on the beds of the Ohio River, and it's just nothing but stripped limestone with all fossils. And if it rains, then you can see them even more so. They stand out more vividly after a good rain. So that's a good trip, with no time. And in between where you live at to the Falls of Ohio River, there's caverns that you can actually do a boat ride, and inside the caverns is pretty cool.
Well, we're eventually going to get to all of that. I do know that we had to drive down to Owensburg the other day, and there is this absolutely gorgeous cable stay bridge across the Ohio River, and it's amazing.
Owensboro barbecue. Barbecue is Owensboro. And there's a place the locals go to, and there's a place that all the outside tourists go to. And they're both good places to eat at. And the other thing is, too, when you get to Evansville, there's a place called Classic Coin. And this gentleman's been there for 30 years named Brian. And it's a cool place just to stop by and just talk to him. He's gonna like ideas or likeness of all the people that listen to your show. It's a good place to stop. And like I say, he's a good talk to. And there's a lot of people come in and just stop by at Classic Coin. You might want to stop by when you're in Evansville and just check him out and tell him you talked to Ralph. And the other thing I wanted to just drop a topic. I always want to say something to you about this. I always had a feeling that the banks, they always talk about cryptocurrencies, how they are pretty much, they like them and they're not poo-pooing them. But then you see they're talking about going back to an actual gold-backed currency. I mean, the marriage is there. It just seemed like they just put it together, and you would have a stable currency. It would be better because the banks say that they wanted to take us away from the back, but by merging together with the computers, you can actually have and I think there'll be a point in the future where they'll actually, the metal on the ground when it comes out, it'll go to like a crypto coin. And it'll actually be in a bank, and then you can transfer it back and forth, whatever you're doing on your daily buying and selling. And it would seem that people would actually go to that more so because they'll see that it's holding its value over time.
Yes.
And then I think what will happen is your mining industry, if they do that, then they'll dedicate their supplies to an area where it'll actually be worth something and not be paperized so many times over. And at that point, I think what will happen is the miners will start paying the people that work for them and give a dividend to all the different people that are, and if they buy their stock in the mine, then they would be paid in dividends of the crypto coins. And if they wanted to have it converted over into physical metal or have it there, and it seems to me that it would be something that's valued, and it could actually pay interest like our money did at one time. It was actually it was worth something, and it was actually paid interest to whoever had it in the dollar. And that's what I think eventually it's going to happen. I just think that
I'd like to see that happen, but the big bankers, they like an unstable currency because they can manipulate it much more easily to their own profit.
Well, Russia's already doing it. They're already talking about doing that marriage, and I think if the miners were to actually say, we're going to sell our metal strictly not to the comics would go away because the comics would not have any metal coming to it. But if it was all being sourced to a crypto, then it would be the benefit of anybody in that industry, and if anybody that would actually hold. And of course, the thing about gold, everybody says, well, why would you want to hold any kind of gold or silver? Because you can't use it in day-to-day buying and selling or whatever. But that's with the modern technology, you can break it down into grains. I could see it be, I don't know if you ever seen a grain of metal. A grain of metal is
no, they were doing that with the golden R. They were doing that with the golden R. The unit of currency was a plastic card with a bubble on it, and inside that bubble was a piece of physical gold. Very tiny, but it was definitely there. Anyway, Ralph, I got to let you go. The phone lines are loading up here. We're keeping people waiting. So let's switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Peter, thank you very much for waiting so patiently. What's on your mind?
Oh, hey, Mike. Listen, I was just looking up Mammoth Cave when he mentioned that. It's a great place to go. There's a little walking involved. I want to look at the website, but it's worth it. Springfield, Illinois, Lincoln, and all that stuff. Kentucky Derby in Louisville, Hannibal, Missouri. There's a lot of good stuff near you. But hey, listen, I remember we're talking about Elizabeth Warren, and I remember back in 1994 when Clinton was president and the Republicans, in reaction to Clinton had just taken over the House and the Senate, and Newt Gingrich was ascending to the Speaker of the House, and he had been elected in November, and as soon as he was elected, he started saying things like, they took over control and he was going to be the speaker. He started saying things like, we need to have a more even-handed approach to the Middle East, and all the same sort of things that Elizabeth Warren is now saying. Yeah. And I thought I was really hopeful about it. And then you didn't hear anything more. And a friend of mine we were talking about it, and I said, I'll bet they get to this guy some way. And so this is really before the internet. And so later on we found out in a paper, when I used to read the papers like I do the internet now, and some tiny little thing in page 8 where it said that Gingrich's then wife was hired to sell real estate. She was living in Maryland or something, and was hired to sell real estate in Israel for $400,000, $1994 a year. And of course, you never heard any more about the even-handedness and all that. And so, my point is that here she is, she's going nowhere, Elizabeth Warren. She looks like she's going to be bumped out by Hillary, who, by the way, she also has endorsed before and had a partnership with. And so now what she could either be doing is bumping up her price, saying, ooh, shut me up and give me some money, or shut me up and give me some money, or give it to Hillary, and to ace me out. Hillary needs some more support. That could be another thing that's going on. But
Hillary's already whining that they don't have anywhere near enough money. I mean, according to the FEC, Hillary Clinton is raising money, but she's not raising that much. She's not getting the support.
Well, who would even, honestly, I'm surprised that she's still alive. Her health is so bad. And if I were making an investment, which is what these donors look at, they're buying these people, and they said, well, do I want to buy this failing, this evil failing woman? If she won't be around to deliver, that might be part of it. Everybody knows, look, she lost to Trump before. She's never won. Has she won an election outside of New York?
No. But the only reason she won the election in New York is JFK Jr. fell out of the sky.
And didn't you tell me, Mike, or didn't I read somewhere that there was not one place in the United States during the 2016 election that Hillary Clinton won that had any sort of voter ID?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I thought it was true. I know I'd read it somewhere. So, I mean, she's, other than cheating, she's unelectable, really.
Yes.
But
she's really, really good at cheating.
She is. Yes, she is. And God bless Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes.
But it's something else, Mike. anyways, that's you said that Claire fell real quickly. I'll let other people go. But what happened? She okay?
It was not pleasant. I mean, because it happened twice. Well, she's banged up a bit, but she's still going to the hospital for her surgery tomorrow. And, but yeah, she got banged up kind of badly. And, it's just something we're having to deal with, where gravity is not her friend. And
yeah, we're there. Us too, Mike. But prayers are with. I got to run off, Mike. But prayers are with you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I mean, I took a header at the front hallway about a week ago, and my back is still killing me. I'm not used to shoes with thick heels on them, or these large thresholds on the doors. We don't have any of that stuff in Hawaii, so the house hates me.
You need to take a picture of yourself in your winter outfit, too, since I'm sure you had to go out and buy one.
Well, all I've really got so far is a flight suit. All right, well, listen, Peter, we're going to let you go. We're going to switch over to Kenny in New York. Aloha, Kenny. Thank you for waiting. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. You're right. Gravity certainly isn't our friend.
Mm-hmm.
What
Gravity
I want to
sucks.
talk about... Yes, it does. You get a little wobbly.
Yeah.
When I walked in from work and I turned you on, I heard you say Hillary, and did I hear Bloomberg?
Yes.
The guy's got about as much excitement as a dead fish. He had to pay everybody off in the council to allow him to run a fourth term. The guy's bad news. All he does is throw money at things. I don't know what he's got to bring to any table. People are running from New York and they're coming out here on the island to buy houses, and they're buying fairly expensive ones too, which means that either the taxes or there's something about the city, they don't want to be there anymore. The kind of flight.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, we were aware when we left Hawaii for Indiana, we were aware we were not by any means the only people fleeing the state because of the high taxes, because of the liberal laws, because of the incredible corruption, I'm still getting used to this place here, but Indiana is definitely a much nicer place to live than Hawaii is.
I wish you all the best for it, and it seems like people are coming out all over the place to tell you where to go and what to see there. And I'm willing to bet, and I've experienced this in South New Jersey, that you go to one of these like breakfast things where they're like a buffet, and I don't know, I guess they don't count on people eating that much, but when somebody comes down from New York, you can make a pig out of yourself. And also, Steve Elkins.
I don't eat that much here. We're actually, Claire and I are invited to some kind of a soiree at her church on Sunday, so we'll see what happens there.
Steve Elkins was saying something about Hillary last night, which was interesting. Hopefully he'll call in before the show's over. I'll ask him again about it. He seems to think that, I don't want to say seems to think, he thinks that she has an appearance about her that makes him think she's on prednisone, which would probably to me indicate that her own body is attacking itself, which would be kind of fitting in a way, but. Did I lose you? Still there? Oh.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm sorry, I hit the mute button.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just dropped.
That prednisone is nasty stuff, and if you take enough of it, it can literally drive you psychotic.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah. I've heard of people being on it. I thought for example, my wife goes out in the backyard and gets a scratch, and the arm starts to tear. They'll put her on prednisone, but it's like a 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's it. You get off it. And it kind of happens maybe once every 2 or 3 years. But I've heard of people staying on it for a long time, and it can really mess you up. I had no idea it drives you psychotic, but It sort of makes
Well,
sense.
they call it steroid psychosis, and it happens with other
Wonderful.
medications besides the prednisone. And again, it depends on the dosage that you're taking.
I haven't seen her lately, but he seemed to say she has these physical symptoms. All right, well, on the next caller, and thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much for the call here. And we're going to go to James in Tokyo. Ohio gozaimasu, James. What's on your mind today?
Michael, how dare you make me call you over your criticism of tampon machines in the men's room? I should be on the other side of the ocean going to school.
Okay.
Michael, would you believe that those tampon machines are in the men's room for men, transgenders, and those that are unsure of themselves, members of the LGBT community?
Yeah, but what do they do with them?
Anyway, and Mike,
Here,
you
can take this tampon and you can shove it up.
That's right. Hey, also, you got to go easier on the Dems because they're going through a period of mourning due to the passing of Representative Elijah Goings. So try and go easy on them. I wanted to give you my take on. I wanted to give you my take on the impeachment. I don't think it's going to happen. I think.
Okay, I got to put you on hold. I have to put you on hold. We're going to take a break for commercials. Do not hang up. I'm going to come right back to you. Aloha and hajime mashite. We're talking with James in Tokyo, and he's expressed his feeling. He doesn't think the impeachment is going to happen. The issue we're all having to deal with, of course, is that everybody in the media has their own opinion. Everybody on Capitol Hill has their own opinion. Half are saying, yes, we're going to nail the bastard, and the other half are saying, no, it's not going to happen. So all we can do is allow time to solve that mystery for us.
Well, I think in time, and very soon, that there's going to be a lot of info coming out concerning all the corruption in Ukraine, from laundering IMF money to putting Biden's kid, Pelosi's kid, John Kerry's kid, Mitch Romney's campaign manager on the boards of numerous Ukrainian gas companies, and I believe that all these trips that are being done by the DOJ to places like Italy and Australia and England, they're going to release a lot of info concerning the frame-up of an attempted coup of Trump. And within a year, I believe that there's not even going to be a Democratic Party, and there is no strong even Democrat candidate to even compete against Trump. And that's why I think the whole thing is going to collapse. And finally, I just want to know how you and that harp playing angel are doing in Indiana. Are you making out?
We're making out. We're getting moved in. We still got a lot of work to do to get everything up and running. And, of course, we're dealing, with old age and medical issues. So, but we're doing the best that we can. And at some point, we're going to get all the furniture in place. We're going to get all the Polynesian art hung up on the walls. And, people are going to come on over and say, boy, are these people weird?
So you found a place already. Everything.
Yeah, we're in our final place right now. If you're watching on the YouTube video, I'm sitting in the dining area. Back there is the living room. And I'm still trying to get moved into my office. Claire's office is pretty much set up.
All right, great. I'm just happy to hear that. And I hope you make out really well there. And nice talking to you.
Well, nice talking to you. Thank you for the good wishes. And, it did take a lot longer and a lot more work and hardship than I was expecting. So, all right, over in Great Britain, the Morrison government has voted against a Greens and Labour-led attempt to declare a climate emergency, saying it's really just symbolic. I'm right about that. Getting on back to Tulsi Gabbard, she got into a bit of a debate with Nancy Pelosi. And Gabbard is right. It was U.S. Democrats who helped cultivate the barbarism of ISIS, supplying them, training them, equipping them. Hey, can I have one of them nice little M16 rifles you're handing out for free? Another article which is kind of laying this on out here, and this is from Lou Rockwell. Tulsi Gabbard versus the bloodthirsty sociopath Hillary Clinton. So, Tulsi, stay out of small airplanes, stay out of small suburban parks, wear your Kevlar. Who go up against the Clintons, have their lives destroyed, if not ended. Take my word for it, been there, done that, didn't buy the t-shirt here. Okay, this is an article I referred to earlier in the show. Hillary Clinton decries the bankrupt Democratic National Committee. We're going to be outgunned, outspent, outlied. I don't know about that last one. But she's definitely not getting the donations she got in 2016. I think that is very, very significant. All right, somebody recently vandalized a sign honoring Emmett Till. It's now been replaced with a bulletproof memorial. So much for those who would erase our history and put something else in its place here. Marianne Williamson is defending Tulsi Gabbard, saying Democrats have a tendency to smear women they find inconvenient. Yes, not just the women, they do it to guys too. But Williamson wrote on Twitter, "Stay strong, Tulsi, you deserve respect and you have mine." And that Tulsi has coming from me. I cooled on her a little bit, but watching her stand up there and just take on Hillary Clinton like that, yeah, go Tulsi, sick 'em, go get 'em. Okay, apparently Hillary Clinton is pulled out of the Most Powerful Women Summit, and a spokesman is saying it's got nothing to do with the fact that Tulsi Gabbard was going to be there. All right, we got to take another break for commercials here. We got another caller waiting on the line, and we will be right back. And we're going to go back to the telephones now to Keith Rogers. Aloha, Keith. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, good afternoon there, Mike. First of all, Morrison is in Australia, not Great Britain. But anyway,
sorry,
he's a whack job. But, yeah. Anyway, I had a question for you, a thesis, I guess you want to call it here. In lieu of all the corruption that I know that we all know that has been in this government for years, and that those in power today are directly those that were in power during the Contras, and those that all received pardons and stuff. And then that could even go back as far as many of those today are also linked back to Vietnam, that are in power today. But anyway, short of a coup, and this, I guess I want to say, instead of a political coup, what would be the difference between that and where this so-called alleged great military does an actual coup, takes over the U.S. government and starts holding tribunals and not let these bastards off the hook?
Well, yeah, I'm opposed to violence. I don't want to see a revolution in the streets of America. I don't want to see civil war. Most military people I know are strict constitutionalists, and if push comes to shove, I would have to say they have my trust to rebuild this nation the correct way than anybody else.
Okay, well, see, that was the point. See, knowing history, Americans have sat by and they've watched these coups done on other countries where thousands, tens of thousands of people have been killed. And the reformation of these governments to allocate special interests for U.S. corporations and stuff. I don't care whether you're listening to John Perkins or anyone like, but many people have fought in their revolution there to rebuild their governments through their own independence. But it's been known that we, the people, technically, don't have the power because of all those in power that are controlling law enforcement, military, and stuff. And so the only way to turn the tide there is to actually change the entire system, as you would mention, let it fall like the Soviet Union did. The only problem is, though, is this is like watching Trump or anyone else that gets in office there. They elect or they appoint all these bankers and stuff. They put them right back into position again. So I think just short of a military coup and the military tribunals and putting all these bastards in jail the way they're supposed to be, I think that's the only thing that this country can do.
Well,
violent or non-violent.
Time is going to have to solve that mystery for us, because I honestly don't know what the outcome of a military coup in this country would be. Could turn out to be very well, could turn out to be a disaster based on prior military coups against civilian governments.
Yeah. Well, the pro about that is we have a lame politicians here that don't believe in their guns unless it's for them, you know. But like I say, if you had their so-called Marines or something storm the White House and then started, assuming power and stuff, just to, get it back on order, and then start the arrest and everything like that, it could be done in a nonviolent way there. The only problem is those, and I hate to say this, but the Americans, there are some that just love to be lied to. And there are those that just love to hang on to this worthless, rotten system that has killed tens of millions of people in your name, you know, and they love it. They're making profits off it. Why stop it? You know, and that's the only problem I see is that is the greedy, or like Milton Friedman said, you know, like capitalism is greed. Well, you can read, or actually socialism today is not with the people, it's with the corporations. They're the ones who are receiving all the transfers. We're living under capitalism, the struggle of having to make it and break it, you know, like that, you know, the bailouts and stuff. All these bankers that laundered hundreds of billions of dollars in drug cartel money, why weren't they ever arrested? The DHS that cut deals
because our politicians are working for the drug cartels. No, our government is more corrupt.
Right. See,
it's as bad as it was under Prohibition.
Right. So now the final chapter on that is, if I were a parent, I get tired, you know, and the humanitarian portion of this, of watching these young boys thinking all this hoorah crap, and they go in and they blow the hell out of someone like that. They come back, they're sedated on SSRI drugs until they can't handle about what they've done, and they commit suicide. This has all got to stop.
Yeah.
All the wars, they're all based on lies, you know?
Yep.
Anyway, I just thought of that, whether it was a soft coup like the so-called political stuff we see, which they'll pardon each other anyway, or we just do a military coup. And, I mean, this is something for the soldiers out there to think of, ha, ha, ha. But this is the only way to retake this republic there, is to put it back in order to where it wasn't originally there, and hold trials and put these guys, you know, behind bars where they belong.
Yeah, I agree.
You can clearly see right now what's going on in D.C. and stuff. This is clear Title 18 subversion right now of this government.
Yes.
We have, you know, there's an electoral process. If they want Trump out, fine like that, vote him out like that. But this BS stuff, all this Russian hacking and stuff, you know, it's always got to be. And the other thing, we see right now how they keep pointing to Russia and stuff. That big drill coming up over there in Germany with NATO and stuff on this nuclear stuff. You know, we have those whack jobs out there that think that nuclear war is winnable and stuff, you know. And these boys aren't going to be laying out in a frozen ditch like it did in World War II, you know. A 1 megaton nuclear warhead is going to devastate miles of territory like that, you know. And we've seen through years, whether it was through McNamara's morons there, 100,000 boys drafted that had low IQs. They don't care about the kids. Look at those veterans that are coming home and actually being killed by the VA, not by this alleged ISIS or Al-Qaeda or like that. You know, they're being killed by their own government, who just doesn't care. They just want you on the field to do what you want. And that recruitment thing, where they just made that, they admitted it was because of student loans.
Yeah.
What a world that you'd have to join the military to pay off a student loan like that, and then it's like a roll of dice thing. Well, I could get killed there, but at least I'll be debt free, right?
Yep.
Anyway, my debt's even clear, okay? By the way, you could have came to Montana and enjoyed snow.
I'm sorry, what?
You could have came to Montana and enjoyed some snow.
Well, we're going to get snow here soon enough. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Well, my bestie, okay?
All right. Thanks an awful lot. All right. Apparently, the Supreme Court is coming up on this court case, if you will. And it's Kansas versus Rivero Garcia. And the issue to be decided by the Supreme Court is whether it's legal or an illegal immigrant to steal your ID to get a job. So you think about that for a little while here. All right, so Rivero Garcia stole a Social Security number to obtain a job. His attorneys are out there saying he should be immune from prosecution because U.S. laws put in place by Congress make it impossible otherwise for them to find employment. Well, guess what? Illegal immigrants aren't supposed to find employment inside the United States of America unless they have the appropriate paperwork. I can't even believe that the Supreme Court agreed to hear this case. It's just insane. Take this guy down to the border, fling him back over into Mexico, problem solved. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says we need more government control to have more freedom. Which does not really make a lot of sense to me, but that's what she's out there saying right now. She's throwing her endorsement behind Bernie Sanders, who's another socialist Democrat, saying, oh, yes, when the government is totally in control, you'll all be perfectly happy. And if you believe that one, I have some of Saddam's nuclear weapons to sell you. Okay, 95%, 95, of the climate software models are flat wrong. And still the global warming cult is out there pushing the fear, panic, and urgency. All righty. Still going back and forth over whether vaping is dangerous or not, or if it's just a threat to the tobacco companies' profits here. Massive protests are continuing in Hong Kong. We were talking earlier about civil unrest is spreading all over the world. And I don't want to gloat or anything like that. All the way back when they were first talking about globalism and a one world government, I said, in trying to create a political climate for a one world government, they could actually inadvertently be creating a political climate leading to global revolution. And it looks like it's happening. Okay. Apparently Francis Ford Coppola, got to work with early on, backs Martin Scorsese. These Marvel movies are despicable. Francis, I disagree. They're no work of art. They are fun. I don't know why they're making a big deal about it here. Oh, Beto is denying Tulsi is a Russian asset, but still maintains Donald Trump is one. All right, apparently Mitt Romney has been caught using a secret Twitter account to defend himself. He's got his regular Mitt Romney Twitter account, and then he's got this second one that has a different name on it that he's using to go on out there and, you know, try and run the spin cycle here. Apparently a shopping center has caved to the left and refuses to renew the Chick-fil-A lease over donations to Christian groups. And the latest transgender nonsense here. There's a product called Always Sanitary Towels, which now the LGBTQ want in the men's rooms. And they had this custom Venus logo on their products. Trans rights campaigners got really upset. How dare you have Venus on a woman's product? Alrighty. This one's a little dangerous. Mike Pompeo is out there saying that the Iranian threat gives Israel a fundamental right, even an obligation, to bomb whomever it wants. That's a little scary. That is a little scary. Okay. Let's see. I like this article. This came out of countermarkets.com. Why the state can't claim our implied consent. And this is an important concept here. States are said to gain the rightful authority to rule us through implied consent. There are no explicit contracts signed with the government which grant it all of the power it exercises. So it is simply presumed and sold to us in the media that the citizenry implicitly agreed to follow laws. Did we give our consent to be ruled? Well, certainly not in the case of the First Amendment. These threats of throwing us in jail if we criticize Israel, and certainly not in the case of the Second Amendment. Bill of Rights is inviolable. Apparently, Outback Steakhouse says they're installing artificial intelligence technology to improve customer service. According to one survey, 82% of Americans think AI is more harmful than helpful, and I am one of those. Alrighty. Doctored CNN videos. We know something. Little story about a guy named Wrongway Corrigan. This goes back to 1938. It happened before I was born. But I grew up hearing about this guy. And he made a cross-country flight from Long Beach, California to New York City. And Corrigan took a wrong turn and ended up in Ireland shortly after Lindbergh's flight. They called him Wrongway Corrigan. Now people think he did it deliberately. Of course he did. Oh, this is a good one. Actually, the pictures aren't that good. Prince Andrew surrounded by topless women on Thai holiday with pedophile billionaire Epstein as friend, says Duke has always been a TNA man, I guess is the best way we can put that. So apparently Hillary Clinton is now out there complaining that NASA ended her childhood dreams of becoming an astronaut. And she was basically making a comment on the first all-female spacewalk that occurred this last week. And so Hillary said, when I was a little girl, I wrote to NASA and told them I dreamed of being an astronaut. They wrote back and said they weren't taking girls. She then expressed hope that a new generation of little girls will be able to reach for the stars. The problem is that Hillary Clinton was born in 1947, more than 10 years before NASA was founded. And it wasn't until 1962 that the U.S. put any astronauts in space. So her story is hard to believe. Do you know that she's claimed that she's named after Sir Edmund Hillary, who, assuming that Robert Mallory didn't make it, was the first man to conquer Everest. But the thing is, Sir Edmund Hillary didn't do this until Hillary Clinton had been alive for a while. She's a lot older than she tries to let on here. We already talked about this. U.S. troops are not pulling out of the Middle East. They're being redeployed. we're just going to send them someplace else to die. Okay, there's the music. We're going to have our final commercial break. Coming back with our final commercial, our final segment, and stay tuned. America, pardon me, welcome back to the show. And over the weekend, it came on out that Boeing engineers had known months in advance there was a problem with the 737 MAX. They had known, and management said, just pretend to make it go away. I would like to see the people who make these bad decisions suffer for it and not get out of it because of politics. Oh, because, my uncle's on the Supreme Court and you can't touch me. That's a big part of what's wrong with our society is it's become subsumed by politics. And people who do bad things are protected. So, anyway. Okay. Apparently, Democrats and neocons try and fail to stop the border wall. Trump vetoes their resolution. We talked about implied consent. Article out of Investment Watch blog. We're living in unprecedented historical times, and that is certainly true. I've never seen the world like this. I've never seen the United States like this in 67 years. And I don't know where it's going or how it's going to end. But it's bad. There's just two ways about it. It's bad. Okay, so we talked about Prince Andrew and his topless ladies. We talked about Hillary Clinton and NASA. Talked about how our troops are not pulling out of the Middle East. About Jeff Epstein. Boy, for a dead guy, he gets a lot of ink. He really does. Now, the University of Alaska at Fairbanks has released over 600 gigabytes of the data they generated regarding their finding that fire did not bring down Building 7 on 9/11 as claimed by NIST. So that's definitely some data you want to grab and archive here. Trump has scrapped his plan to host the G7 at his Florida Gulf resort. He was going to just say, come on down here. It'll be zero cost to the American taxpayer. And of course, immediately everybody said, oh, he's going to use this to exercise undue influence on the G7. We can't allow this. We'll soak the taxpayer to pay for the G7 rather than let Trump have this advantage. And it shall be so. Out in California, Governor Newsom pardoned 3 there's the music. All right. Well, good. I'm tired. I'm glad the show is over. And remember, tomorrow is the best of, because I got to take Claire to the doctor. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. Please spread the word about RBN. Please spread the word about whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate. And we'll be back tomorrow. So, who's your daddy?